My name is Norris Harbour Heinzman, and I'm here to talk to you today about a little project we worked a couple years ago. Uh, we published this paper in JAMIA in September of 2013, and the title of the paper is Longitudinal Analysis of Pain in Patients with Metastatic Prostate Cancer Using Natural Language Processing of the Clinical Text. That title is a little too long. I'll put a link to the paper in the video description. So the project itself, the goal of the project was to objectify the subjective experience of pain as described in clinical notes. We, um, because after all, the point of text analytics and natural language processing is essentially to take unstructured information and make it structured, make it computable so that it's useful. So, in this project, we developed a healthcare targeted knowledge base for named entity recognition and relationship extraction. Some of our named entities were things like diseases, symptoms, medication, parts of the body, patients, and we extracted the relationships between all of those. And pain. So our pain model was developed with the help of a pain specialist, and it had a 4-tier level of severity. So we had no pain, some pain, clearly severe pain, and controlled pain. So that's pain for which the patient is receiving medication or some other therapy. So we ran this model over a corpus of more than 4,000 clinical notes. These data represented the clinical record for a small cohort of men who all died of prostate cancer. In some cases, for some of the men, we had clinical notes going back 10 years or more before their date of death. And we were able to extract each instance of pain described in those notes, either by the patient or by the clinician, normalize it to the 4-tier scale, and associate it with both the part of the body and the number of days before death. In this way, we were able to develop landscapes of pain, both landscapes for each individual patient and also kind of a general for the cohort itself. Um, Dr. Stephen Bova is the principal investigator for this corpus of data. He had been working with this data for more than 15 years at this point. To his surprise, in the landscape of pain, we showed that there were 2 patients who never experienced any severe or controlled pain through the course of the illness. He had no idea that these 2 men shared that characteristic. Going forward, it would be really interesting to look at the genetic phenotypes for these 2 men compared to the genetics of the men at the higher end of the pain scale and start to look for patterns or possible um, genetic clues as to why these men had a different experience of prostate cancer than the rest of the men. So, speaking of the men at the other end of the pain scale, this was the second really interesting um, correlation that came out of our study. Um, the African American men in the cohort all clustered towards the high end of the pain scale. Um, the the effect was very small, but it was still statistically significant. You can get the precise numbers out of the paper. Here's the thing, though. So the cohort is very small. There's only 33 men in this study. We can't make any claims about prostate cancer in general as a result of a pattern we find in this study, clearly. So we did a literature search at this point, and we found that there was a large-scale clinical trial that had similar results several years ago. And what I think is important here is that that clinical trial did cost millions of dollars and took many, many years of effort, whereas our work took 6 months approximately and cost much less than millions of dollars. And we were able to get useful information out of data that already existed. And I think in this big data world where we have so much valuable information locked away in free text, I think it's important to talk about how we can extract and normalize important information and make it computable and make it useful. So that's it. Thank you very much.